Can you use your phone?
Yeah.
And then I can just...
Oh no, man, now look, I was using my phone to do hers. Same thing happened to me.
I just want to make sure. I'm just recording a video. I'm gonna...
Oh, you got your battery going out?
Alright, whatever. We'll just
charge
do
you
it.
taking?
No, I don't know what happened. I might have accidentally hit something. Or maybe my phone's doing something funky. It doesn't matter. Let's just go. Doesn't matter. Just go. I'm getting annoyed. Enough of this. Hello, everyone. This is Shen for the Shen Show in space. Sorry about the slight delay. There was, let's just say, technical difficulties. I'm going to suggest that Facebook get their act together. And this is not insulting Facebook, but their Facebook Live is pretty bad, let's just say. And right now it's not working at all. So try to figure that out. Didn't work for 5 minutes, just blank screen, and like, hey, you know, that's cutting into my radio time, and everybody else is listening. So, anyways, so in other words, you're not gonna see my pretty face today, alas, not live at least. I'll put it up later. Recording a video right now, so I could put it up on YouTube as soon as I form that channel. All right, so we're basically gonna go over some space news today. I thought I was gonna get somebody on the show, but I don't know what happened. He didn't really respond. At least he did respond, and then there wasn't a confirmation. So we'll just go ahead and do that. First of all, let me give a shout out to a few folks that I know is listening. My friend Tyler Trawick, who I went to school with at Georgia Tech, also an aerospace engineer, but later switched to computer science. Okay, long story short, he's listening like he does every week. My girlfriend Abby, Goff, always a good supporter, so definitely. I hope she's listening. Some people from the satellite company that I do some work with, satellite launcher, so Gail Williamson, Ken Robinson. Ken Robinson was on last week, talking about aliens with me. That was fun. And everybody else on that team. Also, my friend Alicia Baker, who might still be working, so I don't know if she's listening. And I could name more names, but let me just stop here. All the other aerospace folks and friends, there you go. Everybody. All right, so first things first, let's see. What is new this week? Well, apparently, so yesterday, or rather actually today, news came out that Stephen Hawking, I think everyone knows who he is, he said that if humans are not going to be extinct in about 600 years or so, we're going to have to leave Earth. Now, my thought here is, well, yeah, I hope in 600 years our space program gets us off the Earth. But I guess what he said here is more of a, you know, just like, hey, there's going to be population overgrowth and we need to do something about that. Now, the other thing that he highlighted, which I thought was quite interesting when I first heard about it, is that he highlighted the exploration potential of something called the Breakthrough Starshot. And Breakthrough Starshot, he is actually part of the, I believe, the board. Breakthrough Starshot is a project within within this company, I would say, called basically Breakthrough Initiatives. And what it is that they are trying to develop a proof of concept, basically sending the first spacecraft to Alpha Centauri, which is our closest star system, 4.37 light years away. And they're going to travel, these spacecrafts are going to travel at speeds almost at 20% of the speed of light, which is incredible. And that will mean that this Alpha Centauri star system, which is 4.37 light years away, will only take between 20 to 30 years. And then about 4 years to notify Earth of the successful arrival, since then they will send radio waves or whatnot back. So how's it able to travel that speed? Well, they're using really, really light spacecraft, and they're using, so imagine a spacecraft that is, they basically call it a star chip. It's a nanocraft. So it carries really miniature camera, some navigation gear, communication equipment, and a power supply. In addition, the cool thing about that, how it can travel so fast, besides being really small, is that they have a meter-sized light sail. And if you recall, light sails, remember that light generates actually a force. It generates momentum, so you can push things. So they have a light sail that's about a gram in mass. So this whole thing is pretty small. And then you're basically shooting lasers at it from Earth, and it will propel it to that extremely high speed of about 20% speed of light. Anyways, it will reach Alpha Centauri, and then you will see if there's, exoplanets that have life, and do some science there. So things of that nature is quite exciting, and this possibly the executive director, Pete Worden, who also used to be the NASA Ames Research Center director, he says that maybe by 2050 we can have our first picture of another planet that may be life-bearing. So that could be a place for future human habitation, let's just say. So if Alpha Centauri, our closest star system, happens to be able to support life, and especially our life, human life, that'd be wonderful. So we have a place to go definitely in 600 years, besides Mars. But, okay, speaking of Alpha Centauri, this is actually something else that's interesting, which is that the star system may have so Alpha Centauri, just to note, the star system there is actually composed of a couple of stars. So one of them is called Proxima Centauri, and as the name might suggest, it is basically the Proxima close. It's the closest to Earth. And it also happens to have exoplanet, and has the closest exoplanet to Earth. Exoplanet, by the way, just means a planet outside the solar system. So the existence of this planet called Proxima b was first announced in last year, August 2016. So that was obviously a big deal since it's only 4.5 light years away. So the important question was whether Proxima Centauri could have more objects orbiting it besides just this one potentially habitable exoplanet. They discovered that Proxima Centauri also has a belt of cold dust and debris that's similar to our solar system. We have the main asteroid belt that's between Earth and Mars, a bunch of asteroids. And we also have what's known as a Kuiper belt in our solar system, which is beyond Neptune, where a lot of the comets are, and dwarf planets like Pluto, for instance. So Proxima Centauri was recently discovered to have things like that as well, which could indicate the presence of more planets in the star system. So this was, a lot of this was detected from the observatory in Chile in the Atacama Desert. It was the Atacama Large Millimeter Array, ALMA. So what these observations revealed is that there's a cold dust belt that's about 1 to 4 AUs. AUs is basically the distance between the Earth and the Sun. It's an astronomical term, also called astronomical unit. So it's basically a distance from the Earth to the Sun. Anyways, so they discovered this cold dust belt that's glowing, that's between 1 to 4 AUs from the star Proxima Centauri. So this puts it much further out than the exoplanet Proxima b, which is orbiting at 0.0485 AU, which is almost next to that star. Okay, so this belt, they also measure that it has about 503 kelvins, in other words, about 446 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about as cold as a Kuiper belt. So, considering that there's such an elaborate system, this could indicate that it's not just a single planet, but there could be a bunch of planets. So, in any case, pretty exciting news. And like I said, with the Breakthrough Starshot program, perhaps there could be, we could observe life or whatever habitability or other planets there once we send these tiny spacecrafts over there. There's also some other study that is underway that's trying to get funding called Project Blue. And Project Blue is going to be a space telescope which will be specifically targeted to look at Alpha Centauri planets. So, and Project Blue is a consortium of scientists, university institutions, and they have launched a crowdfunding campaign. Crowdfunding campaign, as noticed, where the crowd, anybody could donate money. So they're doing it through Indiegogo. I'll post a link on that later for Project Blue. But anyways, so it's a collaborative effort between Bold Eagle Institute, Mission Centaur, SETI, University of Massachusetts, and anyways, so not to go into too much detail, but this is going to be launched by 2021. 2021, assuming it gets funded. So let's hope that goes through. Okay. Anyways, we can talk more about that later. So another thing of note, speaking of exploration, closer to home, NASA has been working on this for a number of years now, but the next rover on Mars is called the 2020 Mars rover. Creative. Maybe it will have a different name. But 2020 Mars rover is scheduled to launch in 2020. And it is, as every Mars rover has been, more sophisticated and larger than the previous ones that's on the surface right now. So it has a significant factor. It has 23 cameras, so which is more than any other rover that's ever been there. That's 6 more than NASA's Curiosity rover, which has been on Mars and exploring the Gale crater since August 2012, and has 13 more than the smaller golf-sized Spirit Opportunity, which landed there in 2004. The cool thing about electronics is that it has been progressing very rapidly. So we constantly get better and better cameras at cheaper costs, which is very good for science and exploration. So one of the things that it has is what's known as a Mastcam Z. It's basically an upgraded version of Curiosity's HD 2-camera Mastcam instrument. So Mastcam is a thing that looks like its eyes, like it can move up and down. So it looks like a pole with its eyes. So this is going to be Mars 2020's main set of eyes. Z is a zoom for zoom. So Mastcam Z will be able to zoom, and that's something to know is that our current Curiosity rover on Mars do not have a zoom function, so it can't zoom. This new Mastcam Z will also be able to take more 3D images, so we can examine geologic features in greater detail and scout out places that have promising signs, maybe detect life. There are also, interestingly enough, is that this Mars 2020's cameras will have color images. So Spirit, Opportunity, and Curiosity, they have only taken pictures in black and white. So the colorful photos you have, they were processed, let's just say, all right? Or taken by orbital probes. So, hello. Okay, there's something wrong with the mic. Okay, good, I'm back on. So in any case, that's something exciting. Of course, we've got to wait a few more years. So they also cover some other instruments. One of the more interesting ones is called MOXIE, which is Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment. So one of the things which a lot of proponents of Mars, say settlement, talks about, brief aside here to explain, is what's known as In Situ Resource Utilization, ISRU. which basically means you're living off the land. Instead of carrying all your propellant and water and life support things, say to Mars, you use the atmosphere and you generate oxygen from the gases in the atmosphere. So basically, this would be the first such experiment on Mars, where this Mars Oxygen in Situ Resources Utilization Experiment, or otherwise known as MOXIE, it will pull carbon dioxide from the Martian atmosphere. The Martian atmosphere, note, that's about 96% carbon dioxide, all right? So we'll pull that and turn it into pure oxygen and carbon monoxide. So NASA has said this is going to be a key priority because in the future, we cannot possibly carry all the oxygen we need for humans to live. So we're going to have to live off the land, use, in situ, basically native resources. And so we're going to have these machines that work. So if everything goes to plan, this MOXIE will produce about 0.78 ounces of oxygen per hour, which doesn't sound like much, hey, but it's a prototype. And it will operate at least 50 Martian days during this mission. So in the future, perhaps they could even land a small nuclear reactor in a scaled-up version of MOXIE, 100 times scale. This is what the main researcher wants. So, anyways, very exciting. I mean, there's a lot of Martian architecture. One of them is basically sending this thing over there, generating a lot of oxygen, and then humans will land and have the resources right there to use. So you don't even have to carry any excess oxygen while you're going, for your spacecraft to go to Mars, for your human spacecraft, since you already produced a bunch on Mars. Okay. So speaking of astronauts and all that, another exciting study has just come out late last week, I would say. Still Tuesday this week. So everyone knows that space travel, you affects astronauts. You have bone losses, your eyes get worse. You can't stand on your feet once you get back. Some people get space dizziness. You get exposed to more radiation. So there's a lot of things that happens. Well, one other thing that I discovered is that space travel actually changes your brain. Now that sounds kind of scary in a way. So let me explain that a little more. So over the years, researchers have gathered a lot of information about astronauts. In fact, pretty much every astronaut is like a guinea pig. Measurements are taken before and after and throughout the mission. So in this study, researchers scanned the brains of 34 astronauts before and after they spent time in space. So 18 of them were in long duration missions, which means close to 6 months on average on the International Space Station. And 16 of them were short duration missions, so that's about 2 weeks. And this was from space shuttle flights back in the day. So what they have discovered is that the long duration mission astronauts had some significant changes to their brain structures. So, for instance, their brains actually shifted upwards in their skulls, which is interesting. So it went closer up, I guess closer to the surface of the skull. There was also a narrowing of what's known as the cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, space at the top of the brain. Okay, so I'm not a medical person at all, so CSF, this is what I read. It's a clear liquid that flows between the brain and its outer covering, and between the spinal cord and its outer covering. So, short duration people, less than 2 weeks, they didn't have any of these brain changes. These scans also showed that 94% of these astronauts on these 6 months or more missions had a narrowing of what's called the central sulcus, or SELCUS of the brain. So basically it's a groove near the top of the brain that separates the frontal and parietal lobes, basically 2 of the 4 major lobes of the brain. So, and for short duration flights of like about 2 weeks, only 19% of them showed any kind of narrowing of their central sulcus. So So researchers, as noted, have known for years how microgravity affects the human body, but this is probably the most comprehensive result on the effect of space travel on the brain. So this is pretty important in that, if this sort of stuff is happening around Earth, then we can imagine what it would be like, on a mission to Mars. So hopefully they could function to Mars or say somewhere else, even further out, that they could actually stay in an asteroid or, any other object. You go there and you're going to be weightless for a while, there and back. And on the surface, actually, it'll probably be less gravity than on Earth. So what's going to happen? So this is quite important. Now, one of the things this could help answer is, like I said, astronauts' eyes actually get worse. This has this really technical sounding name called visual impairment intracranial pressure syndrome. What a mouthful. Okay, VIIP syndrome. So astronauts with this condition have poorer vision and they have a swelling of the eye's optic disc. Okay, so nobody's for sure what causes this syndrome, but perhaps because the brain shifts upward, like it pushes it, the tissue pushes it, and maybe it leads to the CSF flow being obstructed and causes some nerve swelling for the optic nerve. That could be possible. So, anyways, we'll see what happens. That's, humans, how we live in space, how we function, it's still definitely a lot of research needed despite all these years. So, speaking of humans, speaking not of humans, let's just say, there's creatures that are much more adapted than us to go into space. Okay. Unfortunately, they are not really that intelligent, in terms of doing science and what humans are doing. Okay, so now let me just say there's one of them that is called wow, what's wrong with these Latin names? Canorhabditis elegans. Okay, whatever that is. It's C elegans spelled C, the letter C, Elegans for short. So they're a type of nematode found in soil samples worldwide. And nematodes, they look like worms, and they are basically super tiny, and they are like worms, except much smaller than worms. Okay, so there's a lot of types of nematodes, and they're basically found everywhere. So this guy, Lubin from once again I will mention the Breakthrough Starshot effort. He basically said that they are one of the ideal candidates for space travel. So they could be our first interstellar travelers. So these particular nematodes, more commonly called soil nematodes, they're generally found in rotten fruits, mulch piles everywhere. So if you go there, if you go to any fruit pile, you will see, if you probably take a microscope or something, you might see that. So, in any case, another thing that could be very interesting for space travel, like a creature, is what's known as these water bears. And they look like cute little bear things. And they're called tardigrades, Tardigrades. And similar to nematodes, are also very hardy and can survive in a lot of environments. When you go on break? Have a caller? Who's on? Hello?
Yes, it's Yusuf.
Yusuf, oh my gosh. I love it. Okay, so Yusuf is one of my closest friends. So tell me, what do you want to say?
I'm just calling to say that I was listening to the show.
Oh my gosh. All right. I am so happy. People should just do this. Call me and say nothing about space. Just say, I'm listening to your show, Shen. So, you're listening to my show. What's your favorite part so far?
Well, I just got on the show right now, so.
Okay, never mind. That's so disappointing. Well, I mean, if you want to, all right. So, let me ask you then, Yusuf. Do you want to go to space?
Yes, I want to go to space.
All right. Okay. So this is a slight break from our space news. Let's just say, since I'm just gonna. Yusuf is let me give him a short background. He doesn't have a space background, but he's very intelligent. Yusuf, correct me if I'm wrong, but you study math, right?
I did.
Okay, so you study math at New York University?
Yes.
Okay, so smart guy. So the everyday man, let's just say, that's smart. So let me ask you. So you want to go into space? Where do you want to go?
Yes.
So I've talked about Mars so far. I've talked about our closest star system, Alpha Centauri. And I've talked about, well, actually that's about it, those two places. Do you want to stay in our solar system or do you want to go outside of it?
I want to stay.
You want to stay inside our solar system?
Yes.
Where would you go?
I don't know. I would like to go to the moon.
You want to go to the moon? Okay, that's great. That's a lot closer. In fact, you probably know that's the only place that humans have actually gone to.
That's right.
Besides Earth. So you can join one of the prestigious few. There's only 12 people that have walked on the moon. So maybe you could be the 13th. So if you're serious about that, you should apply to be an astronaut.
Yes, maybe with your help, because you're a physician and physicist, so, and you know about all this.
Okay.
How do I? Well, maybe you will take me there when you're going there.
Oh my gosh. All right. I would love to do that. I need to figure out how to get there myself. So, thankfully, I think NASA's target is towards the moon again, which I actually prefer. My personal view is that seems to be the more likely candidate than, say, going to Mars or an asteroid. So, anyway.
But since I'm calling the show, I do have a few questions.
Yeah, go ahead. Ask any question you want.
What inspired you to start this show?
Great. Okay. So, I'm actually, let's just say this is a happy accident. I'll go with that. It's a happy accident because I was not originally the one who started this show. I know now it's called the Shen Show in space, but originally it was called a different name. My friend Michael McCullough, he started this show since he wanted to inform people about space, and he happened to know the station owner, Evelyn, and so he was running the show for a while, and then unfortunately he passed away, and I was asked by Evelyn if I wanted to continue with it, and I said sure. So, because this current station, A Bridge of Light, it doesn't really have many technical programs. I mean, there's a wide variety of talk shows, but there's nothing that's focused on space or technology. And also I want to continue Michael's work. Now, from a personal standpoint, I will say, I have been interested in radio for a while, so I was happy to take up this opportunity. So I enjoy talking to people and sharing knowledge.
That's good. I'm really glad I'm part of the whole show and the space. Because I'm really fascinated by physics. I'm a mathematician, but I also have a physics as the people who study physics and space. So hence the curiosity of even calling you and listening to the show.
So, yeah, just wondering, do you have another question?
So how long is the show?
You know, this is so funny, Yusuf. I feel like, typically it's me interviewing the person. Now it's you interviewing me. So, this is hilarious. Okay. But let's let's continue since this is pretty great. The show lasts.
Listen to the show, they couldn't. Julie wanted to listen to your show.
Is she listening?
You couldn't. No, he was trying to go online, but he was causing so much problems to give up.
Was she listening now?
No, she's not. The other last week she was trying to listen to your show.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, I had Facebook Live last week, which is not working this week, so she could go online. I've sent her a link. She could look at it.
Okay.
But anyway, it lasts for an hour, so it's typically from 6 to 7. Today we had some technical difficulties, so it didn't start until 6:15.
Okay. Also, I want to bring up, if you can make it easier for people to listen and call, it would be fantastic. I do know that few other people texted me before, hey, how do I listen to Shen Show? And so there's some confusion. If you do have a chance to clarify that, that would be awesome.
Okay. Do you know who these people are? Do I know them?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Okay. All right.
Many
Well,
people in our entourage.
entourage. Oh wow, you make me sound like I have so many fans. All right, but anyway.
Before I hang up the phone, I want to give you a big shout out to Ken for saving my life last night.
Oh my gosh. All right. So here's and please don't mention any more personal details, please, on the show. All right. That would be so embarrassing. But suffice to just say, you came to my place and you locked yourself out. So I gave you a clothes hanger, and you managed to open the car. Congratulations. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do that, but whatever. All right, I'm glad to save your life. Hello? Are you gone now?
No, I'm here. I was saying that I'm going to be listening to the rest of the show, and I'm going to hang up now, but I'm going to have it on while I'm working.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks for calling in. We may have to take a little break, right? Or should we keep break? All right, Evelyn says break, so break we go. All right, bye, Yusuf. Thanks. Bye. That's hilarious.
Share your
Funny
opinion
guy.
by calling 713-789-0096. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Dr. Carla Brown, candidate for HISD Board Trustee District 9, bringing an educated perspective. I need your vote for early voting Monday, October 23rd through Friday, November 3rd. You can't make it for early voting. We want
Yeah,
to see you on
I don't know why
Tuesday, November 7th.
his
If
girlfriend
failure
Julie
is
couldn't
not an
access it.
option,
I don't know.
check Carla Brown, number 1 on the ballot.
Huh? You go to the, like, maybe I should, like, put up, like, where you, since if you just go to the website, it doesn't automatically play.
You gotta push the thing. And
Yeah.
also, if they got an Android, they can go to the Play Store and download the Visualize app.
Stand up against the main issue we see today as disenfranchising.
The tribe is no tuning.